Hello, friends. As we explore um, themes from Living in the Light, Yoga for Self-Realization, I thought maybe I could do a short course uh, over here. And in order to do that, I think I need to first share with you what the essential difference is between what we call modern cosmology. Modern cosmology includes everything from Big Bang and everything, the evolution of the universe over 13.8 billion years. And it includes everything from, what happened blank time. We don't know why the cosmic inflation was so precise. We don't know why the cosmological constant is a big mess model. The observed value and the theoretical mathematical value are off by humongous, gigantic differences, and other conundrums. Why is the universe fine-tuned for mind, life, consciousness, and this beautiful planet with all its diversity of life forms? Those are the conundrums in modern cosmology today. And then, of course, there's the hard problem of consciousness, which says there's a physical world out there. Visually, photons impinge on our retina. They create electrical impulses that goes to the brain. Electrochemistry occurs there. Voila, you see the whole universe, including your body. And you also experience thoughts and feelings and emotions and images and desires and aspirations and memories and longings and love and creativity and archetypal consciousness and even transcendence, all the result of electrical potentials from the five senses going to your brain. And, brain has become God in this cosmology, because you need that human brain to understand this cosmology, including the math behind it. So as you can see, there are many problems with what we call the core theory or the current model of physics in trying to explain anything that's happening in the universe, notwithstanding that the models we have created are very effective in creating technology, including the technology that you and I are using right now to experience this conversation, which of course is happening in consciousness, which has no location. So in this book, of course, I've offered practical ways for self-realization, but do understand we'll go into that. I'll discuss the yamas, the niyamas, bit by bit as we proceed, if you want me to. And then we'll go on to asana, pranayam, pratyahara, dharana, dhyan, samadhi, which are the 8 limbs of yoga. But before we do that, let's go through an alternative or better cosmology, which comes from the teachings of yoga, but also actually the teachings of Vedanta and Advaita and some of the non-dual traditions of the world. This is a different cosmology. So let's start understanding that cosmology. Fundamental reality, according to Vedic and yogic cosmology, fundamental reality is what we call pure awareness or pure consciousness. Pure consciousness is, first of all, infinite possibilities, but it is also being. Being means existence. existence, being, fundamental reality, source of all experience are good words for pure consciousness. And this pure consciousness is formless, without borders, therefore infinite. Just simple. It doesn't have a form. You can't see consciousness. It's that which is seeing. But the reason you also can't see it is it doesn't have a form. And if it doesn't have a form, then it's infinite. So it's infinite, formless, borderless, irreducible. Irreducible means there's nothing beyond that. It's the ground state of all existence. So it's irreducible. It's causeless. Because it's not in time, it doesn't have a cause. It doesn't have a beginning, middle, or ending. So it's causeless, it's spaceless, it's timeless. What else? I said it is irreducible, it is infinite, and it's being. It's what we call being, existence, pure existence, ground state of all experience. And that's all we have, experience. That's the ground state. This pure consciousness then modifies itself. It changes, let's say, state. And the first state is what we call the conditioned mind. And the conditioned mind is in Sanskrit is called mano. Mano means mind. But this mano, this mind, also gives individuality to that which we call a person or another biological organism. It is the first stage of manifestation, but it's not manifest yet, but it's the first stage of manifestation as what is called jiva. Jiva means soul, literally. So what is your soul? Your soul is the seeds of the conditioned mind based on experiences. And those experiences and their interpretations are called karma, memory, which is called sanskara, and desire, which is called vasana. So that's the first stage, mind, mano. The second modification of that same original being is intellect. We use our intellect to make choices, to interpret things, to explain each other, things that we think we know or don't know, mostly don't know. We use the intellect to come out with mathematical models of reality, and ultimately the intellect is what has created all this technology that we're using, this computer, everything that you see over here that you can call an object is the intellect, which is trying to also understand the nature of these objects through physics, chemistry, biology, whatsoever. So that's the second stage of evolution or manifestation. Intellect. The third is that identity that you hang on to as a result of your constructs, your mind, your intellect, and you create a certain identity. We call it the ego, not a bad word. And ego is your individual identity, which is basically jiva, the soul, incarnating as this changing this, which goes along with changing everything. So mind, first modification, intellect, second modification, ego, identity, third modification. This now turns into what we call prana, or vital energy, because it has to move, it has to manifest, prana. And many pranas in our body, prana vayu, apana vayu, vyana vayu, udana vayu, samana vayu, etc. Not going into details, but every kind of movement comes from energy. And then that energy manifests as this body, which is also changing because the energy is changing. And this body and what we call this universe that we see, everything, every object, including stars, galaxies, and multiple galaxies, if they exist, and they do, all correlated with this physical body, because that's also a physical experience, although, of course, it is a product of sensations, images, feelings, and thoughts. So from pure consciousness to mind, intellect, ego, energy, vital energy, physical body, physical universe. The physical universe is called Brahmand. The original cosmic consciousness is called Brahman, and they're synonymous. So it's not that the universe is made out of consciousness. The universe is consciousness. And consciousness is formless, but it is also with form. This experience that we call the universe, which includes our body, mind as part of it. Okay, so if this holds true for the individual, this holds true for our society. We have a collective mind, right? It's on our social media, it's on the web, it's on the internet, it's in our exchanges with each other right now on this instrument. My computer, I'm sharing my mind with the collective mind, and your feedback will, of course, influence my mind. So my mind and the collective mind, in a way, are correlated. You can't have one without the other. There's no such thing as a mind by itself. And just like there's a collective mind, there's the collective intellect, scientific societies of academia, societies of various professions, medical societies, societies of humanitarians, societies of musicians, authors, storytellers, academics, education, entertainment, all using the intellect collectively to create the show that we call the world. So just like there's collective mind, there's collective intellect. And then there's collective ego. It comes in the form of national pride or ethnic pride or racial pride, all of that, So the collective ego, Ukrainian, US, Russia, etc., etc. Frequently, collective egos, national egos, or ethnocentric egos can become very belligerent and cause all the havoc in the world because they all want to be right. So just there's a collective ego. Then there's the collective world, walking across New York City, but that's part of bigger state, country, and then continent, and the world, and the solar system, and the Milky Way galaxy, and then Virgo, and other galaxies, etc., etc. That's the collective physical world, and there is a biosphere that goes with it. It's the collective energy that is manifesting as the collective world or universe. The biosphere is the collective prana energy of reality. Okay, so just as there is a manifestation of the individual through these different stages or differentiation of pure consciousness, which also, by the way, is infinitely creative, infinitely correlative, synchronistic, non-local, source of attention, intention, unpredictable, all of that. So just like the individual manifests from consciousness or pure consciousness, so too does the universe. And that's why in the Vedanta it also says that the self of the individual is the self of the universe. The ground state is one ground state, differentiating into all forms and phenomena. And that ground state is what we can call cosmic consciousness. differentiating into the experience of ultimately an infinite universe with infinite knowers, modes of knowing, and all things known. And so if you want to understand this cosmology, of course, directly, then we don't rely on systems of thought, even though the map I've shared with you is a system of thought. But we don't really rely on that system of thought because it's a map. And we say, oh, the map is not the territory. You can't eat the menu. You can't eat the map, or you can't navigate on an app. You can't travel on the map, just like you can't eat the menu in the restaurant. But actually, if you go deeper into this, you'll see that the map is also made out of consciousness, a modified form of consciousness. So is the menu. And if you become an expert yogi, then maybe you don't need to eat as much as you do. You don't eat the menu, you look at the menu and you're satisfied because there are layers of subtlety to your experiences, layers of subtlety to your experience. And so yoga is the mastery of all this. And that's what the 8 limbs are about. And they're also called Ashtanga Yoga, not as a brand, that somebody makes up that brand, that's their business, but 8 limbs as described originally by Patanjali, the great author. And this is a modern commentary, so you don't have to read my book, you can read other commentaries as well, although I've tried to make it as accessible and practical over as a course and contemporary. Okay, this is the mechanics then. From unmanifest to manifest, from invisible to visible, from intangible to tangible, from incomprehensible to comprehensible, from unseen to seen, from seer to scenery, and on and on. Why is it important? Well, if you understand reality, then you get liberated. The only liberation is to be grounded in reality and the mechanics of manifestation. So if you found this useful, I will continue to create a short course using yamas and niyamas and everything else. But you have to tell me if you like that idea or not. Okay, friends, take care.